4 years ago, we got the disappointment that was Pray for the Wicked. It was probably Panic at the Disco's worst album. Because let's be honest, even though from Vices and Virtues up to Death of a Bachelor, they had changed, they were still making enjoyable, memorable music. And yes, Pray for the Wicked had its high notes, like Same and Saturday Night and High Hopes, but that was about it. Whereas a Panic at the Disco album, more of it is supposed to be memorable, and we kind of felt we were going to get a quick follow-up, as Brendan Urie seems to follow up every 2 or 3 years with a new album. But things changed, things went down, allegations came out that turned out not to be true, and Brendan decided to lay low for a little while, and recently he was teasing music, giving us new music, and the album Viva Las Vengeance was announced, the long-awaited new album from Panic at the Disco, and I gotta say, the difference from the past 2 records to this one, it's definitely there, because when you listen to a lot of this, you kind of get thrown back to what maybe Pretty Odd and Vices and Virtues used to sound like. It's basically those 2 records combined, and hey, I liked Pretty Odd. Vices and Virtues not so much, but I liked Pretty Odd, so that can only be a sign, right? Well, I mean, sure, yeah, I guess. There was a couple of songs that really weren't my cup of tea, as my least favorite were Star Spangled Banner and Something About Maggie. They just were the weaker songs on this record, and I didn't feel it as much, as this whole record has more like a, how do I put it? It has like a Queen-inspired tone to it, and yet those ones weren't exactly the ones that stood out to me. In the OK tracks, we have Middle of a Breakup. I don't know. It's grown on me a little bit, but not much to where I could say that it is one of my favorites. Don't Let the Light Go Out. I mean, I do like that little like bass line in the chorus and all that kind of stuff. But again, when it came to being one of the singles, I don't know. I felt like there could have been better options. And then Sugar Soaker, again, I'm not that big of a fan of it. It's fine, it's okay, but not my cup of tea fully. And in the favorites, we have the title track, the kickoff, the one that kick-started this era. This was when I knew that Panic at the Disco was at least going in somewhat of a right direction here, because they sounded like a band again. It didn't just sound like Brendan Urie hiding behind a generic pop beat or something like that. It actually sounded like a band playing together and just doing their thing, and it was just, again, a nice return to what made Panic at the Disco so likable, and just, it finally felt real for once, for the first time in a while, and that was what really made me and many others excited for this record. Local God was a nice little change of pace with things too. God Killed Rock and Roll, Say It Louder. Sad Clown has to be one of my absolute favorites. I don't know what it is about it, but it just hit harder than all the other songs, and I'm glad that he put a music video out for it, making it a single today, so that just makes it even better that probably the best song on the record is a single. All By Yourself is nice. That song's kind of inspirational. Basically, he's kind of talking to his younger self in this song, but, you know, when you listen to it, it's also kind of like he's talking to you. He's just basically saying, look, again, I always have a thing for songs that are just be yourself, figure out who you want to be, don't let anybody else make that decision for you, and that's exactly what he did. And he also kind of mentions in the song, you're going to make some decisions that are going to piss other people off that, you know, care about you, but that shouldn't matter, because in the end, you decide what you want to do with whatever it is you're doing with your life, your body, whatever. That is all up to you. And then Do It to Death was a nice finisher to the record that kind of gave off more of a higher intensity, because it's weird. Usually with Panic at the Disco, they go soft to finish the record off, but in this one they actually kept the high intensity that the record had pretty much throughout the whole entire album, and it was a nice thing to see, and a nice way to end the album, in my opinion. Keep the, keep the anticipation going, and by the end of it, again, you're just wanting to spin this thing. And to be honest with you, even though I liked Death of a Bachelor more than other people, this is honestly, the first Panic record I have enjoyed from start to finish, probably since Pretty Odd. Because again, all the other albums that have come after that have their high points, but it's never from beginning to end. There's always a point in the album where you know that it starts going downhill. But in this record, aside from the couple of songs I didn't like, all the other songs were just, there was something about them that just made me remember old Panic at the Disco, not necessarily sound-wise, but just how enjoyable they used to be. I'm sitting there bobbing my head, I'm singing along, which is something that I haven't done throughout an entire Panic record in a long, long time. It's just good to see Brendan Urie back on his feet, and it's good to see him probably do the best songwriting he's had by himself since becoming a main writer since Ryan Ross left. It's a nice little return for Panic here, and I do see this as the direction that they should go in from here on out. Like, this suits them very, very well, not what they were doing the past couple of records. Like, don't get me wrong, it's okay to experiment, but those last two records had a sound that was just trending in a direction that you just kind of knew wasn't going to work out well, and now that they've kind of ditched that and gone to this, I feel like this is what they need to be, and hopefully moving forward, this is what they continue to be in one way or another. But that's just it for this review. I say a 7.5 out of 10 would recommend. That is the highest rating I've given a Panic album in a long, long time. So, yeah. You guys tell me in the comments below if you've heard this album. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What were your favorite songs and even some of your least favorite that came off of this record? And until then, stay safe out there, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and I will catch you all in the next one.